my child for a very long time. I wish you would come and see if you could take good care of my son. Because my son, the prince, is very sickly. He doesn't seem to be able to do anything. I have had to fire nanny after nanny because no one can take care of him. Won't you please be the nanny? So Isis, you know, she loves kids. She figures that Tree is around here somewhere, so she takes the job. And she really falls for this kid. She thinks he's a really awesome little baby. And so she takes really good care of him. And because she's Isis, the baby soon grows very healthy, and he's walking around and babbling. And the queen and the king are so impressed by this. They're amazed at what she's been able to do. So the queen decides she's going to spy on Isis and see if she can learn any tricks from her nannying. So meanwhile, Isis has decided to turn the baby into a god. She likes him so much, she says, why should he be a human? He should live forever. I'm going to turn him into a god. So to do that, as you know, you make a giant fire, and then you throw the baby into the fire. Because you're going to burn away its humanness. And then you turn yourself into a bird. Isis likes to do this. You turn yourself into a bird, and you fly around the top of the baby and say magic spells, and then eventually it gets turned into a god. So the queen just happens to open the door to peek into the room right when this is happening. She sees her baby in the middle of a fire and a bird flying around over the top saying all these magic spells. And she says, where's that nanny? She is so fired. She picks her baby up out of the fire. Wow, what's a bird doing in here? She tries to swat the bird. And then Isis turns into herself. Beautiful, fabulous Isis. And the queen says, oh my gosh, what's that? And Isis says, how dare you stop what was going on here? You foolish queen. Your baby was going to be a god, and now you've ruined it. And the queen is like, who are you, and what are you doing here? And she says, I am Isis. I'm here to find the box that my husband's body is in. And the queen says, I'll do whatever I can to help you, Isis. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I think the box might be in that pillar that's in the great hall. So she takes Isis to the great hall. They go up to the pillar. They cut it open, and there's the box. She pulls the box out and takes it back with her to Egypt. People keep coming to Byblos to see this pillar, though, that used to have Osiris's body, and it's like a tourist attraction. So she goes back down to Egypt, and she wants to check on her baby first thing before she buries Osiris. So she takes the box and she hides it in the reeds on the side of the Nile. And she goes to find the floating island with her baby on it, and Wadja taking care of her, and the baby is fine, everything's good. But while she's over there on the island, who should come and find the box but Set? He sees the box and he says, I knew that box. I made that box. This is not good. Somebody has found this box and they're about to do something with his body. I don't want that to happen. Somebody like Isis could bring him back to life. So he opens up the box and he takes the body of his brother and he chops it up into 13 pieces. And he takes the pieces and he sprinkles them all over Egypt, in different parts of Egypt. So he's like, Mwahaha! No one will ever be able to bring him back to life now. Isis comes back to the box. She sees that the box has been opened and somebody's been chopping up somebody's body there. It's pretty obvious. Something gruesome has happened there. So she starts to cry, of course. Well, I'm never going to be able to bury my husband. And Ra comes down and he says, what are you crying about? You're giving me a headache. And she says, it's just the body of Osiris. Somebody chopped it up. I bet it was that sad. And Osiris says, stop crying. We're going to fix this. Ra says, stop crying, we're going to fix this. He says, Nephthys, come and help your sister. Sounds like Set has done something bad here. That's your husband, you should deal with it. So Nephthys comes to help Isis, and together they go all over Egypt trying to collect the pieces of Osiris's body. They get about 12 of them. They put, not quite 13, they get 12 of them. And they put them back together in the box. So they lay it all in the box. It's kind of disgusting though, right? It was all chopped up, now it sits back together again, but yuck, right? And so Isis is like, well, I'd like to bring it back to life, but if I do, there'll be all these pieces walking around. It's disgusting. So Nephthys says, you know what? My son, Anubis, has been working on something that I think might help you with this. So this is the son of Set and Nephthys. His name is Anubis. He has the head of a jackal.
Also, I like sharks.
Jackals are these dogs that live in the desert and they like to eat dead things.
Like I eat it.
We eat dead things too, but they like to eat rotten dead things. Something about jackals. Anyway, Anubis has been experimenting. He says, I have a really good idea. I have been taking these really long strips of fabric and then I wrap them around things. So what if we took like a really long strip of white fabric and we just wrapped it around the body of Uncle Osiris? And so all the pieces would be all neat together back again. We'll take his hands and put him on his chest like this. We'll wrap him up, and then he'll be like he's the same again. So he creates the first mummy, right. Osiris becomes a mummy. So here he is. Just a moment. So now, Isis tries to bring him back to life. She goes big bang boom, and she whoop, puts a magic spell on him, and comes back to life. But he's not whole. He's only 12 pieces. So he can't come completely back to life. He's kind of partly alive. So he can't really be king, because he's half dead, half alive. So instead of being king of the universe, he becomes king of the land of the dead, up in the sky. So here's what happens. We'll talk more about him later, but he lives up in the sky, and every night when Ra brings all those souls of the dead people up into the sky, Osiris is waiting for them up there. And Osiris decides whether or not your soul is going to go to the fields of peace or the pits of fire. So he's the king of the land of the dead, called the Duat.
What's the Duat?
It's the land of the dead. No. In the Egyptian world, it's called the Duat. It's not the same.
That's not the same.
So now we have all the people on here, but now we have a little problem. We still have Set as king, but Horus is around, right? So really, Horus should be king because he's the son of the old king. But he's still a baby. Still a baby, right? So Horus, Isis wants him to grow up nice and safe and sound so that Set never figures out who he is. But one day, Horus says, I'm tired of living on this island with a stupid snake. Why can't I get off this island? And so she's like, all right, you can go play with the other children. So here's Horus. It's not like he would fit in particularly, right, with his head like a falcon. But he goes and plays with the other kids, and he gets to be sort of older. And one day, I can see John is waiting for this to happen, Set comes up and sees him, and he's like, that kid looks familiar. I don't know why you would think that. If you think about it, these guys, neither of them really looks like falcons, but still, that guy looks familiar. And he kills him. He kills little kid Horus. And Isis comes up and goes, no! I took so much time and trouble to get that baby alive, and now he's dead. And Ra comes down like, Isis, what are you doing? Your crying is so loud, it's giving me a headache. And she says, Set killed my child. And Ra said, you have a child? And she says, yes, it's Horus, my son. And Ra said, you have a son? That's complicated and interesting. Let me bring it back to life. So, bing, bang, boom, he's Ra, brings him back to life. So this is why Egyptians really like Horus, because Ra stands up for him. Even